Good morning, friends. This is Jen Espinosa-Goswami coming to you live from my page over at Be Weightless. Welcome to the first entire full week of 2019. I hope you had a beautiful New Year's Eve celebration, and I hope you have some idea of what your goals are for 2019. If you haven't, I did record a 90-day planning webinar. So if that's of interest to you, it happened a week ago, just before the new year, and I had some really great responses to that one. So if that's of interest to you, you're still in limbo in terms of what your goals are for 2019 or the feeling you'd like to get for 2019, encourage you to comment below with the plan. Just comment below with the plan or an emoji of your choice, and I will send you the recording for that. My treat to you. I was requiring people to register for that, and there's actually a deadline for an offer I had on that. So if that's something you really want to dive into, I would really encourage you to dive into it and then listen for this special offer, which expires today, because that's it's expiring today, and I like to reward action takers. So again, that's if you are not quite sure yet where you are for 2019 and what your goals are. You really should watch this webinar I did. It was about 90 minutes long and has a special offer in it, which expires today. So comment below this video with plan or your emoji of choice, so I can share that link with you and you can dive right into that. If you have not seen me on this page yet, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jen again. I'm a health coach and motivational speaker. And what is different about my brand of health coaching is, first of all, I don't offer any products because I don't believe a product is any more powerful than anything you can achieve in your life. I think that you have everything you need right now without some sort of supplement or powder or shake. I don't believe those things are necessary to reach our best health. So that's my philosophy as a health coach. And how I help women is, and generally I work with women. Sorry guys, I generally work with women. Is we kind of strategize your lifestyle, and we take a look at where you want to be physically, mentally, emotionally, everything like that. We take a look at where you are, and I help you bridge the gap with specific and usually quick and easy action steps that are long-lived, so ones that you can continue for the long haul. I don't believe in elimination diets. I don't believe in extreme measures. So everything we do is designed to sustain you for the long term. I also help you kind of come up with an exercise fitness routine that looks good to you and is something that you can maintain for the long haul. That means that it's not a gym membership, it's not joining a studio, it's finding the right type of movement for where you are today to get you to where you want to be tomorrow. I also provide a la carte meal planning services. So if you are diving into a brand new dietary plan for January, because I know a lot of people are, I probably have a meal plan to support you. I do everything from gluten-free, vegetarian, dairy-free, and gluten-free. I have done custom meal plans for people in the past if you have very specific allergies or foods you need to work around. I do meal planning for people a la carte as a custom service as well. So if you're curious about those things, comment below with meal plan, or I'll just pop the link in there so you can see all of my offerings. Some really great recipes on there, things that don't take all day, that you won't be spending your entire day in the kitchen. Okay, so that's a little bit about me, and that's a little bit about this page, and some offers I have out there for you in case you want to dive right into those. Now, let's talk about some of the goals that I'm going to be doing on this page for you in 2019. So in the past, I've been inconsistently doing live stream videos, and I just kind of pop on when the mood hits me. That is going to be changing for 2019. So I'm committing to doing a live stream every Friday during 2019 on this page. So if you haven't liked me and you love these kinds of videos, and please like me, please follow the there's a setting up on this page to say receive notifications so that you can be notified when I go live. I'd really like for you to join me every Friday. It's probably going to be at 9 a.m. Central Time every Friday. If I have an appointment or something that I can't get out of, I will let you know when the time changes. But every Friday, right here on this page, 9 a.m. Central Time, I will be going live. Now, in order to make this easier for everyone, I've decided to have certain themes every month. So January will have a theme, February will have a theme, March will have a theme, and so on and so forth. And just to make things consistent and easier for me, because sometimes I forget too, you know, I'm no spring chicken anymore, but I will be following the same themes that I'm doing for one of my paid programs. And I'll talk about that later. I don't really have time to get into that right now. But January's theme is the R word. I don't mean resolution. The R word for January to me has always been rest. So if you're like, well, but I have things I need to do, but this is my chance to be a new me and a new fresh start and all these things, that's great. I can certainly support you with that, but I feel it's important after the hustle and bustle of the busy holiday season, which for some people started as early as, you know, mid-November. You've been going constantly. You've had parties and events and gatherings and things to cook and people to entertain, and that's a lot of stress. That takes a big toll on a lot of people. And I get it. Maybe you ate a little more than you were used to over the holidays, or the kinds of foods you're not used to eating. So you want to kind of refresh or change how you're eating, and I totally get that. But I think a more appropriate way to start January for the new year, especially because we're in the middle of winter and it's cold, and our access to fresh produce and things like that are somewhat limited, at least in northern states, maybe in southern states not as much. But I've always felt that resolutions in January are like the worst idea ever. And I'm not alone in this, because most people drop their resolutions by February, or if not earlier. So I believe that a stronger way to start the new year is with the idea of rest. Give me a thumbs up if you agree that rest is important for this month. And so I'm a big follower of the seasons, the change of seasons, and seasonal health kinds of concepts. And if you look at, you know, creatures in nature, they hibernate during this time of year. So why shouldn't we, as people, as creatures of the earth, I mean, we are creatures. Just because we're intelligent doesn't mean we're not creatures that have cycles, just like everything else in nature. I think that it's important for us not to hibernate in the sense that we shut down completely and avoid any sort of interactions, but hibernate in the sense of refreshing and reflecting and keeping quiet so that we can turn inward. I know it sounds kind of zen, but that's kind of where we're going with this theme of today's live stream, is rest. Rest, rest, rest. And I'm super excited about this because if you followed me for any time or know anything about my presentations, one of my favorite presentations is 5 morning rituals to accelerate your health. Mary's saying she's resting right now and hasn't gotten up yet. Woohoo! I love it. Yes, I'm so glad you joined us live too. That's awesome. I appreciate that. So one of the rituals that I've been consistently doing every morning before 6 o'clock in most cases is exercise. I do other rituals too. There's 4 other rituals I do. I'm not going to get into what those rituals are right now. If you're curious, I can do a live stream on that later on during this month. But one of the things I've been consistently doing for at least several years is waking up early to exercise. And this week is the first week in like years that I have not done that. On Tuesday I did, because it was still December, and I finished up my fitness group that I work out with, and we work out at 5:45 a.m. And that has always worked really well for me. It's not that that is not working for me anymore. It's just I want to try something a little bit different. And here's what that looks like. I sleep in now. I sleep until like 6:30, not as late as 6:30. I've got kids I got to get to school. I've got breakfast to make. I've got other things to do in the morning. However, I still haven't showered. I still haven't exercised today. I did a few errands. I dropped the kids to school. We had breakfast, all that good stuff. But I didn't exercise this morning. So I am intentionally taking a step away from that for this entire month, if not the next month and the month after, because I don't anticipate when I'm going to sign up to join my fitness group again. I don't know when that's going to happen. I've committed to home fitness, but that doesn't mean that I still wake up really early because I work from home. So I can do my home fitness at any point during the course of my day. And lately that has been 11 o'clock, you know, after I have some appointments or phone calls, or 1 o'clock before I have to get my kids from school. So that has allowed me the space and ability to rest. And it has been wonderful for me. It has been absolutely wonderful. So I wish that for you as well. More time to rest. And here's why. There have been studies out there that have compared driving while tired to be even worse than driving while drunk. Now, we know that when we drink alcohol, you know, we don't have strong reaction times. Maybe we're slower. Maybe we don't pay attention to things around us as much. We're not as fast to react. We might even be a little sleepy when we're drinking. But they say that driving while sleepy is even worse for you than driving while drunk, because same concepts are there. Your slower reaction time, you may not notice things. God forbid you fall asleep behind the wheel, and that's just not okay. And I talk to a lot of women that are in a perpetual fog because they're tired all the time, whether it's because they can't go to sleep at a decent hour or because they wake up throughout the night. And I'm not a person who struggles with falling asleep, but over the past quarter, you know, since September practically, I would say that I get up 2-3 times average every night. And that has not been very restful for me. So when it comes to your restful situation, I'd love to hear from you. How do you feel you're shaping up in terms of rest? Do you feel rested when you wake up? Just let me know in the comments if you feel rested when you wake up, because that's a good sign of whether this is something that you need to focus on during this month. And I'll be providing articles, resources, infographics, other videos around this topic because I feel this is super, super important. I've written about this on my blog. I know that for me personally, of the 3 things, food, fitness, and rest is perhaps my top priority. I will choose it even over food and fitness, which is very unusual for me because fitness is my stress reliever and food is my way to feel energized for everything I need to do. So rest is an even bigger priority than those things. And that's another thing too. So, you know, I'm in the health field. There's a lot of health people out there sharing their offers with you. There's a lot of gyms out there sharing, you know, 0 enrollment and things like that. I don't really understand that, right? Like, we are in the middle of winter. It's cold. It's dark. It's we're competing with a bunch of other people who suddenly feel like they have to get all their stuff together in 1 month's time. And I don't understand where that pressure comes from. Where does that pressure come from? Who decided that January was the day that the month that this all had to happen? And like I said, I live in a northern state, so our access to produce is very limited during the winter months. Yes, we have like the root vegetables. We have things that take more time to cook because you can't eat raw sweet potatoes, but we don't have as much access to salads, or the salads that we have access to are contaminated with salmonella or E. coli or whatever. There's been a lot of those things going around. So I feel like this time of year is a really bad time to focus on your eating. I'll say that again. This time of year is a really bad time to focus on your eating exclusively. I'm not saying you can't make improvements in terms of eating more vegetables or more whole grains or drinking more water or that sort of thing. But I don't feel that this is the best time of year to really, you know, shape up, if you will. And then physically, our bodies react a little bit different in terms of our metabolism, right, during this time of year, because the days are shorter. It's colder, so we want to conserve more heat. We're wearing more sweaters. We want to eat more foods that allow us to conserve that heat. And cold foods don't do that. So we might be feeling the need for comfort foods, you know, stews and soups and things like that, which is great. That's what our bodies are craving at this time of year, and that's a natural thing to do. Personally, I don't do a lot of soups because I just don't care for soup that much. But most of what I eat is, like 95% of what I eat is cooked. So, you know, I very much am attuned to the winter months. And then when you think about exercise, I am a big proponent of exercise. It's my biggest stress reliever. but it also takes time and effort to plan it out, right? Especially if you work full-time outside of the home and you have a family and you're volunteering and you're doing a bunch of other things in your life, including improving your personal development. There's a lot going on for you. So trying to schedule one more thing or add one more thing to your to-do list, it's probably feeling a little bit overwhelming at this point, and that's okay. Choose one thing this month to focus on. If rest is there for you, then I will be your support for that during the course of this month, because I love rest. I will choose it over everything else, and I think that that has contributed to me being the positive person I am. I'm not a positive person if I'm tired. I'm cranky. I'm not fun to be around, and I don't think I want to put that on my family because they don't deserve me to be cranky and snapping at them all the time. So rest is super important for me. So Mary is saying she only feels rested about 25% of the mornings, but she's working with her toddler to change that and help her sleep more solidly. First of all, kudos to you, Mary, because I know the struggle when you have younger children. You just don't get sleep. I mean, that's realistic. I remember Asha when she was, until she was 2, she never slept through the entire night. And so I was a complete zombie for those first 2 years. And I was cranky and I was not a good person to be around. Thank God for exercise, because that was a way for me to kind of relieve that frustration of not being able to sleep all night long. And again, the fitness workout with which Mary and I are both belong to, Fit for Mom. I mean, we have a lot of moms who just had babies, or their babies are barely 1 year old. So, you know, there are going to be those sleepless nights. And here's what I have to say to that. To new moms, to moms with kids who still aren't sleeping through the night. Yes, you have to at some point just get used to the fact that you're not going to be sleeping. However, one of my biggest regrets when my kids were little, and I have 7 years between my children, so I had opportunity to seize moments for my second child especially. For the first child, you don't really know what you're doing, and you're like, oh, whatever, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And then you realize later on, oh, no, that was a bad choice. But I had opportunity to seize those moments to rest, not necessarily at night, because that's not when rest happened for me, when you're breastfeeding and working full-time outside the home. And yet rest did not happen for me at night. But especially with my second child, I napped like a trooper, like a warrior. I was like all about the naps. And thankfully, my husband very much supports that idea. He comes from a culture where napping is kind of a thing, where resting is kind of a thing. So I'm very fortunate in that way that I had his support, that I wouldn't feel like I was being judged for laying down in the middle of the day because I needed a nap. And I have afternoon slumps where that just is what needs to happen, especially if I did a really intense workout, especially if I've been going since early in the morning. That afternoon time is an opportune moment to rest if you are not working. But I do feel for the moms out there who have little kids, because your rest may not be happening at night. And from my heart to yours, you are beautiful and wonderful for doing the work you do. Just know that there's a time for this. There's also a time for you to find other opportunities to rest. So that's my special message to those moms who are like, what's rest? I haven't slept since 1999 or something crazy like that. Maybe you're not having babies since then, but yeah, I feel for you. It's tough, but there are other parts of your day where you can rest. Now let's talk a little bit about rest. We're already at 18 minutes in, and I need to be finished within the next 5 minutes. So here's what rest is. Rest is something that recharges you, refreshes you, makes you feel like you are able to continue your day with a fresh burst. A fresh start, if you will. Another reason why rest is important during January, because you want that fresh start, right? New year, new you. How about you start refreshed because you got rest? How about that concept, folks? It's really revolutionary, I know, but refresh from getting more rest. Rest doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lay down and sleep, though. I have a lot of type A women that I work with. I'm type A myself. And it took me a while to understand the importance of rest and to embrace those opportunities for rest. But rest doesn't necessarily mean that you're sleeping or napping. And I want to clarify that a little bit, because, yeah, sleeping is great. But sometimes when we wake up from sleep, we feel more groggy. And part of that has to do with there's an opportune amount of time to nap, to feel refreshed, and it's less than half an hour. So some of us, when we get the chance to lay down, we're like out for 2 or 3 hours. That's not going to refresh you. It's actually going to kind of throw off your day and your circadian rhythm a little bit. I'm not going to go into that specifically. If you'd like me to go into that in more detail, I'll be to talk about that in next week's video. So let me know if you want to learn more about circadian rhythms and the perfect length for a nap. But some of us cannot feel refreshed after a nap, and that's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding rest. So the next opportunity for you is, what feels restful to you? Everyone is different. Share with me one thing in the comments below that feels restful to you. Again, rest is recharging, refreshing, having a fresh burst of energy, being able to mentally collect yourself so that you can tackle whatever else is coming up for you. For me, some of my top rest opportunities are napping, of course. I also have listening to music. And for me, it doesn't have to be classical music. It could be just like listening to my favorite tunes while I'm working. And that may sound weird, because how can you rest while you're working? But for me, it puts me in the flow. And so that feels more restful for me. It feels more recharging, rejuvenating, whatever. Another thing that allows me to feel rested and restful is meditation. And I usually do like a 5-minute burst, or sometimes I'll even, when I'm waiting in my child pickup line at school, I might just lean back in my car and close my eyes for a minute and do some breathing exercises. That feels restful to me. And it's not a huge time commitment. It's something that I can do 1 minute long, 5 minutes long. Sometimes I'm waiting, up to 20, 25 minutes between my children's school times. So, I can take more time to do that. And I know that, so when I'm waiting for my children, I usually spend some time on my phone catching up on some things like emails and responses and appointments and things like that. But then I purposefully put my phone away and then do those restful activities. Or maybe it's doing nothing. Rest for you could be doing nothing, like just sitting there and being in the moment. That's a really tough one for a lot of women, especially the women I work with, but that could feel restful for you. Like sitting there and realizing, I have nothing I need to do right now. I'm just going to be in this moment right here, right now, and not think about anything in particular. So, and that's what makes it restful, when you're not thinking about anything in particular. You're not actively meditating. You're not actively running over your to-do list in your head. You're just sitting there and being still. So I'd love to hear from you. I shared some examples from life that are restful for me. What feels restful for you? Feel free to share in the comments. And I think in one of the future videos, maybe not next week, but the week after, I'll talk about some bedtime routines that can make you fall asleep better or stay asleep better, because it's something I've studied for myself, because rest is super important to me. And it's also something I've studied for my child who has insomnia. Not all the time, but she has gone through it. So I've actually talked to an occupational therapist, and we've implemented some of the tips she's recommended. And I do feel that some of those tips have been helpful. So not next week, but the week after, we'll talk about bedtime routines to help you relax so you can rest more in January. That's all I have for you today. Don't forget to weigh in on what rest feels like to you. Like, do you feel rested when you wake up? And when I say wake up, I mean like of the time. I don't mean every day, because nobody wakes up 100% refreshed every single day. Nobody does. Just being realistic there. But do you more often wake up feeling rested? Share that in the comments. The second piece I asked for you was, what feels restful to you? And it'll be different for everyone. It's okay to own whatever feels restful for you, whether it's doing absolutely nothing with no thoughts running through your head, or actively doing something like meditating or reading or resting, sleeping in your bed, or sleeping in the car while you're waiting for your children to get home from, to come out of school. You decide what feels restful for you. In the meanwhile, if you want to see more of those videos, join me every Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time. I'm not sure yet what next week's topic is. I might go over circadian rhythms if that's of interest to you, or talk more about the ideal nap time schedule, because even if you can't nap during the weekday, sometimes you can nap during the weekend. And if you want me to dive deeper into that, I can certainly go over the best way to nap. So let me know if that's of interest to you for next week. Otherwise, the week after that, we're going to be talking about bedtime routines that feel restful, that allow you to not just go to sleep at a nice time. And I do work with clients on this as well, but also stay asleep throughout the course of the night if you don't have little babies you're waking up for. Because I can't do anything about that. Sorry. Your babies have their own schedule. You got to teach them how to fit your schedule, and I'm sorry. This too shall pass, and you shall be at a place where you can feel rested again. But in the meanwhile, if you want my replay of the 90-day plan, which is a webinar that I went over about a week ago about how you can plan strategically your goals for the next 90 days, that is absolutely something you need to watch. I do have an offer on that expires today. Also, the theme for January is rest. And I mentioned briefly that's because it's following a paid program that I'm offering. So I'm going to briefly outline what that program is. I'll be talking about it throughout the course of the month. It's not an official launch. It's like a soft launch. Basically, it's a continuation of what I did in December, which is we had 30 days of focused intention and action taking around one particular goal. And the people I had in that program loved it, so I decided to continue it. January's theme is rest. So if that's something that you want to have specific action steps and daily accountability towards, then you might want to consider my paid program around this. Yes, I will have a live stream video in this group, which is free to you. But if you want me to check in with you on a weekly basis, provide you content that's helpful for your goal for January, and it doesn't have to be rest, it could be anything, then talk to me more about, what am I calling it? My monthly membership. Let's call it my monthly membership. It's $99 per month, and you have complete access to me every week through text and email. I also use a program called Slack, so it's something that's more interactive where we can chat with each other more often. But if you decide to participate in that paid program, it's $99 a month. You can start anytime. You can end anytime. So it's kind of like a rolling enrollment. You can join me anytime. You can drop off anytime. Next week's theme, or next month's theme, is self-love. So if you struggle with how you feel in your own skin, that's ideal for you. It's Heart Month, so I want you to bring some heart and love towards yourself. If you don't love yourself, it's very difficult to make positive changes in your life. And then the theme for March is, because it's National Nutrition Month. So that's my paid program. It's a monthly membership. If you have interest in that, I'd love to have a conversation with you. Again, it's something that you have direct access to me every week. I keep you accountable. I provide you goal sheets and tracking information, and I check in with you. I don't let you just go by the wayside. I check in with you. So if that's of interest to you, I would love to talk to you more about that membership and what it involves and what we can do together, because there's amazing things we can do together. In the meanwhile, I hope you have a beautiful Friday. Thank you so much for joining me live, and we'll chat with you again next Friday at 9 a.m. Central Time. Thank you, Mary and Stephanie, for joining me. I appreciate it. Feel free to share this video if you felt it was helpful, because I would love to reach more people just like you who want to work on improving themselves one day at a time. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.